Good evening, everybody. We still got some people coming in, so I'll give it a few more seconds and then we'll get started. Okay, well, good evening. Thank you guys very much for coming. We've got about 45 students tonight. So really excited to be able to answer some questions, get you guys a better look at housing and dining on UNC Asheville's campus. Awesome. Yes, so as we get going, on the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A option. If you would, please put your questions in there. And you can go ahead and start putting them in now, even if they are repeat questions of the ones you put in when you registered. That way we can answer those with the people that are here, make sure that we'll prioritize those. If there aren't enough questions, we'll go to the ones you guys registered. But then I'll give us a chance to answer questions in real time about what you guys are asking right now, in case you might have looked online or gotten the answer somewhere else at the time, from the time that you registered. But yeah, you can start putting those questions in the Q&A section, not the chat section. We'll get started with those in just a second. My name is Zach Lucas. I'm one of the admissions counselors, and I'll be moderating this for tonight. And I'm really glad to be able to do this. I'm also a recent UNC Asheville alum. I graduated in 2020, and I was listed an RA for my 4 years at UNC Asheville. So housing's got a special place with me. And as you guys are looking for what college you want to go to, and as you guys are looking at UNC Asheville and other institutions, it's really important to look at all aspects of that school. Obviously, academics are the most important thing that you're looking at, but whenever you go to a school, you're making that place your home for 4 years. So it's really important that you're in a place that you feel comfortable, safe, and happy, and a place where you want to eat food that is good and nourishing and have a variety of options. So we're going to go and get started, but I'm going to let our panelists introduce themselves. Tara, if you'd like to start for us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tara Hopkins, and I'm the Assistant Director of Housing.
And Chantal. Chantal.
Okay.
Yeah, Dylan.
My name's Dylan. I am currently the Interim Associate Director for Residential Education and one of the area directors that we have on campus.
And Chantal. Hey, can you hear us, Chantal? Okay. So we'll wait that for just a second and I'll pick up this Q&A. So the first question for housing is, what do I need to do for transferring to on-campus housing? I'm a transferred student. Also, when and where can I select my room type? So let's first start with just what does transferring look like for students coming to Level Housing? Is there anything different for them?
No, transfer students can apply for housing, and you'll apply as a new student. When you go to One Port, you'll go to the housing portal, and there will be a new student section, and that's where you will apply. And room selection takes place in the summer, and it usually starts around the first week of July.
Awesome, thank you. We're having some technical difficulties, so we'll get Chantal back in here for a second to answer some stuff about dining. For the next one, we've got a question about the different residence halls. Are the different residential buildings for specific degrees, or can you apply to live in any one of them? We don't have any for any specific degrees, but we do have some LLCs or living learning communities that are centered around specific topics. Dylan, do you want to talk a little bit about those LLCs?
Yes. So actually, great introduction. We're rebranding and making those RLCs. They'll now be called residential learning communities. There are a handful. We have 4 currently on our campus. We have one that's the ELC, which is the engineering learning community, which is specifically for students that will be majoring in the engineering program here on campus. First year, it's open to first year students or any students as long as they're part of that major or intend to major. Then there is the cloud RLC that would also be, both of those will be in Ponder Hall. The cloud is specifically for students that are intended or are majoring in atmospheric science or computer science. And then another one would be TLC, which is the transfer learning community. That will be in Governor's Village, specifically Gardner Hall. And then the last one that we have will be Sankofa, which will be located in Mills Hall. That will go through the Office of Multicultural Affairs, but specifically focused on anyone who is specifically focusing on social justice or any of those topics as it relates to social justice. That's where it will be located in Mills Hall, but will go through the Office of Multicultural Affairs.
Awesome, thank you very much. Now, one of the big questions you guys asked as you're going through this, kind of a big thing about housing, is roommates. I guess Cheryl or Dylan, whoever would like to talk about it, can you talk a little bit about the roommate selection process, what it looks like if you are choosing to go with a random roommate, or if you know somebody that you want to room with in that process of living with them?
Sure. So one way that we differ from a lot of other schools is we let our students, regardless of classifications. So if you're a first year student or if you're a returning student, you participate in room self-selection, which means that you're actually going and you're searching for your residence hall that you would like to live in, and then you're searching for room. So when you fill out your application, there is a roommate preference section, and there's about 13 or 14 questions that we ask that you will answer. And during that room selection process, if a student has already assigned themselves to the room or the suite, you can hover over that student's, there's going to be a little bed icon. You can hover over the bed icon. You can see the name of the student and how they answered their roommate preference questions. We are also in the process of utilizing a third party called My College Roomie. We hope to have that open later this summer, but it is a program where it actually takes you to another site, and it's kind of like a social media site where you can make friends and you can match up, and then you can have conversations with them, and there'll also be a questionnaire there. And if you find roommates, then you can add them to a group there, and then you'll come back into the housing portal and you'll create your roommate group. If you don't have a specific person you want to live with, that's fine too. You can just go in and search just as a random person. Or if you do have someone that you want to live with, you can create a roommate group. There's a lot more details about roommate groups, and we'll probably have some questions about that. But just to give you a brief overview, if you have someone you want to live with, you can create a roommate group, and one person in the group can search for rooms, and then they can select rooms for everyone in the group. It is based on availability. So there could be times when it's time for your selection time and there's not enough spaces for everyone in your group. So at that point, you would have to leave the group and then just select for yourself.
Awesome, thank you very much. We've got Chantal back in the Zoom. Would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, I'm Chantal. I am the Sustainability and Marketing Coordinator for Dining.
Awesome, thank you. The next question is, if I already have an associate's degree, will I be considered as a first-year student? And if I'm not, will I still be able to be housed? So with that, it depends. I'll go ahead and kind of go through that from the admission side. It depends on where you got your associate's degree. If you were in an early college program where you completed that while you were completing your high school diploma, you will still be considered a first-year student for both admissions and housing purposes. However, if you went to a community college or to another four-year institution, received your associates there for 2 years, after your high school experience, then you'll be considered a transfer student. But Dylan or Tara, so when do you guys talk about upperclassmen living on campus and if they'll be able to have housing for all 4 years?
Yes, it's possible for a student to live on campus all 4 years. We actually have what we call a priority room selection period, and it's just for continuing students. That actually opens for our continuing students next week. So if you're currently living on campus, then you will select your room in the spring before incoming freshmen. So you do have that option. You just have to meet the deadlines.
Awesome, thank you. The next question is talking about, I was curious about the process for dorm selections, when that will open for students and where we'll be able to access the site. We've touched on the process of dorm selection a little bit and how that works. Do we have a specific date of when that will be happening for students?
It's generally the first week of July. We wait until after all the embark orientations have completed, and they're usually completed at the end of June. I believe this year, the 4th of July actually falls on a Monday. So we probably would wait and start it on the 5th. Just so, because if we started on the 1st, which would be a Friday, if you ran into any issues, then no one would be in the office until the following Tuesday. So it likely will start on the 5th this year.
Awesome, thank you. We've got some more questions coming in about housing. We will get to a lot of those. I do want to touch on dining for a little bit and get some questions out of the way there. So Chantal, can you talk a little bit about the different meal plans that are available for students and how they might go about getting that and figuring out what meal plans working best for them?
Yeah, so for meal plans, we have 5 different options, and they range from like having a meal like 3 times a day with some extra money to go into our retail locations, to having more options to eat in the retail locations versus the dining hall. All of our options are available on our Dine on Campus at UNCA website. It has all the full details. The meal plans are for spring and fall separately, so they don't roll over. That's important to know. Is there any other questions?
Can you talk about the different dining locations on campus? We've got Brown Hall as our main dining hall, and then the other locations like the Down Under, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the Brown Dining Hall is our main dining hall, like Zach said, and we have the Down Under, which is more of a little convenience store, and it has a deli type concept in the back. It does stay open later. It's something that you would usually go in to pick up a snack or something quick. And then we have Highsmith, which it has 3 different concepts in that location, which has a grill, a Tex-Mex build your own Tex-Mex option, and then a build your own pizza place. And then we have a coffee shop which offers local coffee, and we have a smoothie place and that also offers acai bowls, and we have a build your own concept. It's like a salad concept that has a lot of vegan and vegetarian options that is in the Health and Wellness Center.
Awesome. And then the last dining question for right now before we hop back over to housing. Can you talk about accommodations for dietary restrictions, whether that's allergies, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, anything like that?
Yes, so we do have a lot of options for vegans and vegetarians. I am actually a vegetarian, so I eat on campus quite a bit, and I find it very easy to navigate. There are indicators on everything that lets you know what is vegan, what is vegetarian, what is gluten-free, or gluten. I know the gluten thing is is more intense. So we do have a dietitian that we would hook a student up with if they do have a dietary restriction, such as a gluten allergy. But we do denote it in our locations, what is available for that.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Mhm.
So back over to the housing side, could one of you guys talk about gender affirming housing on campus and what the process is for those students to find a place where they feel most comfortable?
Sure, we work with students on an individual basis. So if you are non-conforming or you're transgender and you would like to talk about that, we do invite you to reach out to me specifically, and I can go over our options. We do not have co-gender housing per se on campus, but we do work with our students on an individual basis.
Awesome, thank you very much. Another one of our questions is talking about public transit on Nashville, the living on campus side. Dylan, would you like to talk about what it's like getting around Nashville and what it's like having a car on campus while living there?
Yeah, so a car is not required because we do have public transit that comes through campus all the time with multiple stops and multiple routes. You'll be able to get a sticker on your one card, your university ID, that will allow you to ride the public transit, the ART bus, the Asheville Regional Transit. You'll be able to ride that for free as long as you show that card with that sticker. You'll be able to get that sticker from campus police, and also when you move in for the first year, when you move in the fall, you'll be able to pick that up and put that on your one card. Transit goes all over the place, all the way around downtown. And all across the way. There are grocery stores within walking distance as well, gas stations, lots of eatery right around campus. And it's also a couple-minute walk. I would say maybe 10 minutes to downtown as well. So cars aren't really a necessity as well, because you will also be able to find friends who have cars if you need to make a longer trip. Uber and Lyft are also available throughout the city of Asheville.
Awesome, thank you. In the past couple of years, correct me if I'm wrong, but freshmen are now allowed to have cars on campus. You do have the quote unquote worst spots on campus, but our campuses are so small that it's still very walkable. You can access your car really easily. When I was a freshman, I was not allowed to have a car on campus, so I'm a little salty about that, but it's fine. I'm slowly getting over it. There's been a little bit of confusion about the process of applying for housing. So we have student Andrew said they have apply for housing on one port. Is that all I need to do for right now? And I understand I won't be able to select my room right now. So what do students need to be doing right now after they've been admitted, deposited, to ensure they're on the right track for selecting and getting housing?
Once a student has deposited, that's when you can apply for housing. You can't apply for housing until you have made that deposit. And you would go through your one port and you will apply for housing. And that's all you have to do for right now. As mentioned earlier, we are in the process of rebranding what we used to call LLCs to RLCs. And so right now that application it's available, but we don't have any descriptions for you to learn about what the RLCs are. So we are working on that, and hopefully that will be up by the end of the week. So once you apply for housing, you do your general housing application. If you are interested in a RLC, then at that time you would also need to apply for the RLC. And we'll be getting that information out to students as we have it ready. Other than that, that's all that you need to do. If you end up finding someone you want to live with, you can go in anytime and update your housing application and create a roommate group if you want to do that. Other than that, there's not anything else you'll need to do. We'll start sending out emails to students later in the summer about room selection. And again, that'll take place in July.
Wonderful, thank you. The next question is talking about accommodations on campus, both in housing and for academic accommodations. So before we get into the housing side, for academic accommodations and accessibility, that's going to be handled through our academic accessibility office. And they'll handle that in a case-by-case system in a very similar way that the housing office will. They might have different documents that are necessary, but if you have specific questions about that afterwards, you're welcome to email me directly and I can help connect you with the proper people. Oh, my watch is talking. Sorry about that. For applying for single room accommodations, though, could someone of you talk about what documents are needed and where to send that in and what that process looks like?
All of that does go through the Office of Academic Accessibility. We don't receive any of that information to our office. You will work directly with them, and if you're approved, that office will notify me, and then I will contact you and let you know what the process is. Generally, if a student is approved for a single room accommodation, when you're incoming for your first year, that's a manual assignment that I will make for you just to guarantee that you have a single room. Again, that would be based on availability, but we generally hold a few single rooms for situations like that. And then moving forward, after your first year, it will be your responsibility to actually go and make sure that you apply early and that you select a single room.
Awesome, thank you very much. Are first-year students required to live on campus, or are there opportunities to commute if they live locally?
First year students are required to live on campus. If you have any sort of exception to that, there is a first year live on requirement form that is in the housing portal that you can complete, and that goes to our Dean of Students office. And the interim dean will actually be the one that is looking at that information and would be the one to approve or deny that. We have about 5 or 6 approved reasons. If it's outside of that, you would be required to give more information or upload documentation for the interim dean to review.
Awesome, thank you very much. We talked a little bit earlier about roommate groups. Is there a specific number of students that can be in a roommate group if they're selecting to live with other people?
If you're an incoming student, as a freshman, you can't live in the woods or in the village. So do not try to get in a roommate group with an upperclassman that is specifically looking at those 2 buildings. When it comes time to room selection, they would not be able to pull you into those locations. Also, if you decide that you want to be in a RLC, then you will only be able to be in a roommate group with someone that's in that same RLC. That's because those are in designated halls and designated buildings, and we reserve those specific spaces just for the RLCs.
Awesome, thank you very much. So Chantal, for dining on campus, can you talk a little bit about sustainability and like kind of staying green through eating on campus, and also like where are students getting their food and where that's coming from?
Yeah, so we have a program called Feeds, and it features all of our sustainability initiatives that we do on campus. We do compost on campus in the back of the house, and students have an option to do it in the other locations in the front of the house. And we have different tiers of local. So we have local, which is 250, which would be a 250-mile radius from UNCA. Then we have North and South Carolina, so we cover the Carolinas, and then we do a regional one which goes into Florida and Alabama, the Southeast region. And then we focus a lot on, diverting food waste as much as possible. So, the chefs are really good at reviewing numbers and making sure that we're only making, what we need to be making. And then we, I think that pretty much covers it. Try and think if there was anything else that I missed, but I think that covers it.
And also we had a couple questions in the registration about to-go boxes or taking food from specifically Brown Dining Hall. Are there options for students that if they're on the go or rather eat in their room that they can go to Brown and then take that food with them?
Yes, we do have a takeout container. It is a green container. It is reusable, and I'm trying to pull up the information right now. Sorry, I did not look into that. I am new, so I'm trying to figure out the answer. Maybe
Right.
Brooks, if you're right there, Brooks, if you know how that works, I should know, but I don't. Sorry.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Okay, yes, we have eco clamshells available. They're available for purchase for $7. And that is how we offer to go for the dining hall. And when you can take that to go with you, and then when you bring it back in, we just switch it out for a clean one for you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. The next two questions talk about priority for choosing housing. And either Tara or Dylan, could you talk about the system of which students have first access and first priority for selecting housing, and if early admissions or transfer credits or things like that have anything to do with that process?
We don't look at transfer credits or credits in general. What we base ours on is the date of completed application. So students that complete their application early in March would get an earlier selection time from someone that didn't complete it until June. So when I say selection time, you're going to get an email at the very end of June, and it's going to have your room selection time slot. Again, that's going to be based on date of completed application. That's the order that we put it in. And so some students may go in at 9 a.m. and some students go in at 9:30. We have it in 30-minute increments, so it's not like it's a huge deal. But when you start thinking about 750 students all trying to get into the same residence halls, it will start getting to where there's some places will not be available. Like if you're specifically looking for a single room in Governor's Hall and you didn't apply until June or July, you're likely not going to get one.
Awesome, thank you. The next question talks about after applying for single room accommodation, how that affects selecting room in July. So I think we touched on a little bit, but just to clear it up, you will apply through the Office of Academic Accessibility. Once that is approved, they'll send that information over to Tara, and Tara will manually select a room for you. So you're not having to fight with upperclassmen that might have like first dibs on single rooms or anything like that. We're going to have some rooms set aside, and that will be manually selected for you. So once that gets finished, you'll be in contact with that office and with Tara to make sure that gets set up.
I would add to that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they have a June 1st deadline at the Office of Academic Accessibility. So I do encourage you to get that information in as soon as possible so they can start the process. If you wait until after room selection starts, or you don't get approved until after room selection starts, it will be very difficult to then manually assign you, because we will have students that are going in selecting rooms.
Awesome, thank you. The next question asks, I tried to make a roommate group, but the person I added never received the email to accept. Is that a matter of just ensuring the correct email, or is there something else that might be delaying that email from coming through?
Both students or all students that are going to be in a roommate group have to have applied for housing. So it could be that the person you're trying to add has not applied. So I would check with them to make sure they've applied. If they have applied, just send us an email and we can look for into that further.
Awesome, thank you. I will say a kind of a general thing for working with the housing office, working with our dining office, Office of Academic Accessibility that we talked about. The benefits of attending a smaller school are not just in the classroom. When you call, you're going to be able to talk to people directly. You're not going to have to go through a whole robot thing. You'll be able to email and kind of get those questions answered. So I'm sure they can attest. Don't hesitate to reach out with questions throughout this process. The next question has to do with pets allowed in the dorms. And then also we've had some questions about ESAs, emotional support animals, and also service animals. So Dylan or Tara, whoever would like to, you can talk about the pets allowed on campus and the process of getting those.
We do not allow pets. If you have an ESA or a service animal, that will also go through the Office of Academic Accessibility. If you have a service animal, then that's automatically approved through their office. If you have a request to bring an ESA, that does have to go to an approval process. We do not have specific places on campus where ESAs or service animals are allowed. So if you're approved for one of those, you can live anywhere on campus.
Awesome, thank you. The next question has to do with the 2+2 program. That is actually one of our engineering programs. So if you'd like some specific information about that, you're welcome to email me afterwards. I'll be able to answer that. Also, Nate, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we are having our natural sciences Q&A actually this Thursday as well. We'll have some professors from our engineering department and from the natural sciences that can answer more questions about what that 2+2 program looks like. The next question has to do with this Thursday at 7. Thank you. The meal plan rolling over, and I believe you touched on this, Chantal, but the meal plan declining balance does not roll over. So you have it for that semester and it does not continue over. Is that correct? Awesome. So it is a use it or lose it.
Yes.
How does move-in day work? Are there any specific things incoming freshmen should know about that process?
So move-in day, basically what it looks like for first-year student move-in day. We have everybody on campus, usually at least staff and faculty, that come out and volunteer to help move your things into your space. You will pull up almost like a conveyor belt, kind of drive-through style. Whoever is driving your vehicle will pull up. We will unload everything onto a pallet. And then that pallet is basically consisted of your things. Maybe it's 1 or 2 pallets, depending on how much you have. And that stuff will be taken up to your room. And while that's being taken up to your room, you will go through the lobby and finish and do all the check-in process, such as getting your room key, checking in, making sure you get all the information you need in case you need to get a 1 card if you haven't done that. But as soon as you get through that check-in process and your parent or family member parks their vehicle where they need to park it, all your things should already be in your space. And all you have to do is go up to your room and move, unpack, and get everything set up into your space. I will say a tidbit of information for that. It never hurts to label your things, just because it always comes out of one vehicle and ends up on a pallet. Sometimes our volunteers get very energetic and happy about moving things, that sometimes some things end up in another person's room. Luckily, every year we've been able to track it down. But if you have bins or individual items that can slip through the cracks a little bit, such as maybe it's a loose shower caddy or a tension rod or something along those lines that's not in a bin, I suggest putting tape around it and writing your name and your room number on it. Putting that information on all of your items and your belongings will make the move-in process easier for you. That way we know exactly where it needs to go as volunteers.
Thank you. For next question has to do with move-in. Do we have a specific date yet for our move-in? I know it's typically the first 2 weeks of August, but do we have a definite move-in date for first-year freshmen yet?
Yeah, let me look at my calendar really quickly.
I believe that date, Tara, it's usually a Friday, isn't it?
It's actually going to be, I believe new student move-in is going to be, I think it's going to be earlier this time. Hold on just a second.
So while you're looking at that, we can move on to the next one. Chantal, when do students apply for meal plans? Is that soon? Is that closer to move in? And what does that process look like?
Brooks, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they can apply at any time online with that.
Yeah, so meal plan selection for residential students happens during housing selection. It's part of the process, and you're able to change your meal plan up to the 3rd day of classes.
Awesome, thank you. And one of the other questions that was down there was about whether or not the meal plans were the same for first and second semester. I think Dylan might have answered that in there, but they are different. So if you go your first semester, correct, that is correct, right? You can change it between semesters.
You can change it between semesters, yes.
Awesome. So if that first semester you thought you were going to be eating your 3 square meals and you decide maybe I want some more flexibility, then you can definitely change that.
Yes.
The next question says, how much storage will you have in your dorms for clothing, school supplies, that kind of stuff? It's going to vary a little bit in each dorm. However, every dorm is going to have a desk that will have some drawers in there. Everyone will have a dresser that'll have at least like 3 drawers. Each one will have a closet and you can hang things up and a variety of other shelves. If you're interested in the specifics, we actually have virtual tours of all of our residence halls online. So if you are knowing you want to be in Ponder Hall or Governor or Mills, you can actually go through there and look at what those rooms are going to be like, both through a blueprint of it and an actual walking through tour. You can see, okay, these are how big the closets are. These are how big the drawers are, to kind of figure out what you're going to be bringing in. Next question, is the meal plan? Okay, yep, just answered that. Perfect. With the food service, what different programs do you have for different meal plans, meal retail locations? And can you use your meal card at off-campus restaurants? So with that, a little bit earlier, Chantal went through the different locations on campus for like our retail locations, both like with the Down Under, our Smoothie Lab, Roasted, the Coffee House. Are there any options for using our meal plan off campus?
Brooke, so you're going to answer that. I do know it's like Pizza Hut, but I don't know how that works.
Yes, yes, we offer Pizza Hut. You can use it for order or takeout or delivery from 8:30 to midnight.
Awesome, thank you. Yes, and I can attest as a student with that end of the semester, once you have all that like declining balance that you haven't used, there's sometimes a mad dash. You'll see a lot of pizza coming on campus in the last couple weeks of the semester. So if you're planning on that, it's always a good option to grab that. And then can you talk a little bit about the cost of meal plans? Do different meal plans cost differently?
Yes, so the meal plans are all set at the same price, but there are different tiers. So if you tend to eat, if you think you're going to eat more in the dining hall, then you can have more dining hall options and then have less money in the retail locations. Or if you think you're going, because some people don't eat 3 meals a day in the dining hall. So there are different options if you are like, depending on what type of eater you are.
Awesome, thank you. Do you have to change rooms each term? And for that, you will keep the same room for the entire academic year, so both that fall and spring semester. Is there, so I'll ask this, maybe this was more of the question. Are you able to keep your same room for the next year, or do you have to reapply?
You do have to reapply for the next year. When you book your room, this summer, you're going to be booking it for both fall and spring semester. Our housing contract is for the full academic year. And then next spring, spring of 2023 is when you will be considered a continuing student. And that is when you will reapply for housing for the fall 2023. And then you will select your room in early spring before new incoming students select theirs in the summer.
Awesome, thank you. Next question asks, are freshmen able to get single rooms? Dylan and Tara, please correct me if I'm wrong. You are able to get single rooms technically, however, first priority does go to upperclassmen that are returning. And a lot of times they will get those single rooms. If there are ones left over, first year students are welcome to apply for those. However, they do cost a little bit more, and the details of those costs can be found on our housing website. Is that correct? Anything you want to add or change?
That is correct. The only thing that I will add to that is right when COVID started, we have two halls that are traditionally all double rooms, Founders and Mills. When COVID began, we did convert a few of those into single room occupancy. So we do have some added single rooms. We've decided to continue that going into the upcoming academic year as well. So there are a few single room options in Mills and Founders, which previously were not options.
Awesome, thank you. For the roommate selection, I talked about registration for roommate groups. We did touch on that a little bit earlier, but through that housing process, you'll have the opportunity to create a roommate group. All the people in your group that you are adding must be already applied for housing for that, and they'll receive an email to join your group. If you're having specific issues with that or have specific questions, there's some more information on our website about that, and you're also welcome to reach out to our housing office. There are a limited amount of certain meal plan kinds. Yes, there are a certain set number of different meal plans you can have. Those details are listed on the website that you can see. There's a specific number of meals per week that range from 21 down to 7, and then a certain amount of declining balance, which works kind of like a debit card. And the less meals per week you have, the more declining balance you have. Brooks or Chantal, do either of you want to add anything to that?
No, that sums it up really nicely. 4 out of our 5 meal plans are rollover are weekly. So you have a certain amount of meals per week. And then on Sunday evenings, those get reset for the next week. And then we do have one that is a block plan for the entire semester.
Oh, thank you. Dylan, can you talk about the kind of, is there a resident hall that's quieter than others? Or if a student is really outgoing, where should they live? Or if they want a quieter space, where should they live? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so for first year students, there are typically kind of 3 main residence halls that first year students choose. Obviously, they can live anywhere on campus except for the Village and the Woods, but the 3 main ones that first year students choose are South and West Ridge, Mills Hall, and Founders Hall. So if you want something that might be a little quieter for you, South Ridge will most likely be that spot for you. Either one of the ridges is fine, but I would specifically say South Ridge, just because more first year students live in that area. It's kind of back into the woods a little bit. It's only, I would say, a couple-minute walk back to Central Campus, so it's not that far. It's just away from the epicenter of campus, a little bit away from Highsmith and the dining hall. So if you need something a little bit quieter, either one of the Ridges buildings will do it. I would strictly go, I would probably go towards South Ridge. For someone who wants to meet a lot of people, wants to have, who's an extrovert and really wants to be energetic, Mills Hall and Founders Hall are going to be your 2 areas for that for first year students. Mills and Founders both kind of sandwich Highsmith Student Union, with that being in the middle, with Founders kind of being on the south side and Mills being on the north side or west side, whichever way we want to use the cardinal directions. But that way it's closer to a lot of the things that go on campus. It's closer to the dining hall. It's closer to the quad and your academic buildings as well. So those are your typical more outgoing residence halls, whereas the Ridges are typically more quieter because they're back off a little bit off the beaten path.
Awesome, thank you very much. For our dining folks, is there a most popular meal plan that students tend to go to? Is there one that's overwhelmingly favored, or is it kind of all over the place?
The ones that we see that are the most popular generally are the 14 meal plan is really the one that we see most students end up with. The 21 plan, we see lots of first years do that. It's the safer bet to make sure you're getting those 3 meals a day. Sometimes folks can get excited with that declining balance and it can run out a little quickly. So to make sure you've got those 3 meals a day, 21 is a really good plan, but a lot of our students pick that 14 meal plan because it gives you that solid, 2 meals a day. Plus you have a good bit of declining balance to be able to spend in the retail units.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, my first semester I was out of declining balance within like the first month. definitely. I flew through that. We talked a little bit earlier about vegan and vegetarian friendly options at the retail places besides just Brown Dining Hall. We do have one of our locations called Bowl Life, which specializes in vegan and vegetarian options. Can you guys talk just a little bit more about those options at places like the Down Under or the grill places located in Highsmith?
Yeah, so there is a Beyond Burger that we offer at Highsmith, which is great. We have a tofu option. There seems, like I said, I'm a vegetarian and I eat on campus, and it's super easy. It's actually the easiest university I've ever been to eat on campus. There's always a protein option for vegan or vegetarian. So I've never not had a protein option in any of the units.
Awesome, thank you. Next question, I'm an early college student and something mentioned earlier about transfer credits. Yes, there is a process to go through and get those transfers credits. Mitchell, actually, if you will, you're welcome to email them directly. And I'm actually gonna put my email address in here real quick. And I can walk you through the process of finding out how those credits will transfer over. Move-in day is going to be on August 10th for first-year students. How can you apply through housing? Is it an email or through the admissions website? Applying for housing is through OnePort, correct? Yes, so after you deposit as a student, you'll get information about how to log into your OnePort and create that account. And there will be a place to walk you through the housing application there, correct? Anything else you want to add for that, Sarah?
No, I do encourage students to go to our website. We have a whole section that is about applying and room selection. And as you mentioned earlier, you can also view the residence halls, virtual tours, floor plans. And in the application in the room selection section, there is actually a slideshow that you can watch that will show you what the application and room selection process looks like.
Awesome, thank you. Next question talks about furniture in the rooms. The furniture varies between different residence halls and different rooms. Some of our residence halls have common spaces, such as Mills Hall or the Woods. And in these common spaces, they will have a couch and a coffee table, another little shelf. All of your rooms will come with, of course, a bed frame, but also a desk, some sort of closet, a dresser, and shelves with that. So you're going to have plenty of spaces. Kind of like I mentioned earlier, if you want to know if you've already selected a room or looking at different ones, you can go specifically into each residence hall on our website and see what furniture is in there. You're going to have your standard dresser, closet, desk, bed, all that good stuff. Anything you want to add, Dylan or Sarah?
Yeah, to add as well, I know this is a question that was submitted beforehand that we didn't get to. So we do have suite style bathrooms. So there are no communal style hall baths as some other universities, even though there's a new thing going through, which is a private communal, but we don't have to go into that. But each suite has its own bathroom. So for example, we'll use Founders Hall as an example. So Founders Hall rooms are double rooms. So 2 people live in each room, but one bathroom is shared between 2 rooms. So you and 3 other people will have to share the bathroom. That same thing goes for Mills Hall, same thing goes for the Ridges. And then Ponder kind of varies depending on how many people live in your suite. Could be 4, could be 5. Sometimes could be 6. It depends. When you get over to the Woods, that's different. But usually we have suite style bathrooms. So that way you only have to share a bathroom between you and 3 or 4 other people.
Awesome, thank you. Next question asks what a good dorm option for ambiverts would be. I will say as a recent alum, there are going to be places in every residence hall where you'll be able to find a loud place that's very active and social, but there are places in every residence hall that's going to be quiet. If you really need a quiet place to study, in every residence hall, there are different lounges and essentially business centers with computers and printers that are dedicated for doing work and being productive. to be able to find those quiet places and those more busy places that you can meet people and that kind of stuff. For ambivert specifically, I would recommend Westridge or Founders Hall. Those offer a good bit of both a little more secluded and quiet, but also still a lively environment for students to get to know people. Dylan, you want to add anything to that?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Founders Hall and probably Westridge are going to be probably right along that line. Founders is probably more your speed if you are an ambivert, just because it is on the backside of Highsmith. So it's a little bit quieter. There's not a lot of residential community on that side, but it's still live enough. So in case you do want to come out of your shell, you can do that in that building.
Thank you. Does declining balance reset at the end of every week? And the answer is no. The declining balance amount is for the entire semester. So if you have your mail plans will reset every week, so you get 14 a week or 21 a week. But your declining balance sum is for the entire semester. Brooks or Chantal, do either of you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, you can always add more on if you need to add more on, but that is the answer.
Awesome, thank you. For tuition payments, those are going to be due much closer to the start of the academic year in August. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but you won't have to worry about the actual tuition payments until much closer to the actual start of school, if not with the actual beginning of school. Each residence halls, do they have kitchens available for students? They do. Dylan, do you know anything about kitchens or anything like that?
Yes, kitchens are available in every single residence hall. Some may have more than one, but they are located in the lobby areas or lounge areas within those residence halls. So specifically, Founders Kitchen is located on the second floor, Mills is on the first, and then the Ridges, each of theirs is on the first floor as well.
Awesome. For mail for students, I think there was a question a little earlier about that as well. For mailboxes in Highsmith Student Union, we do have on-campus mail for all of our residential students. It is included in tuition, so you don't have to pay for extra. Your first couple of days on campus, you can only walk up and say, "Hey, I'm a first-year freshman. Can I get a mailbox?" And they will sign you up. They will get you assigned, and you will have the information on how to receive mail and both send mail out. For larger packages, you'll actually get an email from our mailing service. And that will let you know whenever a package will arrive that's too big for your PO box. And the policy for playing instruments in the rooms. Dylan, would you like to talk about quiet hours?
Yes, so we understand that we do have musicians and those that go into the music education department here on campus. We do have practice rooms available in some areas. I know the Ridges may have a practice room here and there, but also the academic buildings have practice rooms available that you can use and reserve so that way you can practice your instruments. Like Zach said, we do have quiet hours. So starting at 10 p.m. all the way up until 8 a.m. the next morning, that is Sunday through Thursday, is when quiet hours are in effect, which means basically if we can hear lots of noise coming from your space, we just would ask you to quiet down because we understand there are other students who are either trying to sleep, study, or anything of that nature. We don't want everybody to disturb because it is a common area, is community living. So we have to take into account all neighbors that come in and live around you. And then on the weekend, it's a little more relaxed, as in the quiet hours don't really kick in until midnight or 1 a.m. and go till about 10 a.m. Because we know students sleep in on the weekend. So that way we give a little more leeway with that. But then during the day between that 8 a.m. and 10 p.m., we always like to use a rule of common courtesy, just courtesy hours. We always like to think if we can hear music or whatever it is, a couple doors down, we probably either someone that lives in the building, maybe it's your neighbor, would ask you to quiet down, just because students still study during the day, still need to do work. And also with the transition of online classes and things like that, there will be students who may be in their maybe in a class while they're in their actual bedroom. So just be aware of having that courtesy when it comes in during the daytime. But as for music, just make sure you use those practice rooms. That's what they're for. So we don't want you to disturb other residents when you're trying to practice your instruments.
Yeah, and there are practice rooms in the bottom floor of Lipinski Hall. There's the music floor. There's also some in the bottom floor of Ramsey Library. These are open for all students, not just music majors. So if you still play an instrument and you're wanting to get some practice time, you are welcome to use those as well. You don't have to be a music major. So that is an option as well. Are the floors co-ed? Floors are co-ed. The only thing that are separated by gender are specific suites, but you will have people in the suite next to you be a different gender from you. Those are co-ed. I think there's one room, like one hall on Governor's Hall that's been like that was like all female for like 10 years in a row, but that was just purely coincidence. Yes, all floors in residence halls are co-ed. And it mentioned that bathrooms are suite style. This means students are responsible for supplying toilet paper, cleaning supplies, as well as cleaning services for the facilities.
Yes, so you do need to supply those items. Sometimes we can get toilet paper and things like that, but a lot of the times our toilet paper is reserved for those common bathrooms and lobbies and lounges and things like that throughout the building. But having the suite style bathroom allows you to kind of be more individual and be more self-sustaining. So you'll supply your own toilet paper. So that way you can get whichever kind you like, but also cleaning your shower, your bathroom, your sink, that is also your responsibility as well. Since it is not a common area, you would have to clean that bathroom. Sometimes, like right now during spring break, sometimes maintenance and housekeeping will go through during the breaks. Winter break as well, we'll go through and do a quick clean for the next semester or sanitize or whatever it may be. But for the most part, you are responsible for cleaning your own bathroom, supplying that toilet paper, supplying any of those toiletries that you may need. But obviously we understand some things happen and sometimes you can't clean the bathroom the best it can. So if there is somehow when you get in or you can't figure out how to get a stain off, or you accidentally made a spill, a mirror fell or anything like that, you can always submit what we call a maintenance request. You'll obviously get that information when you get here, but there is maintenance and housekeeping that will happily help you out in case you need something fixed, whether that's broken glass in your bathroom or your AC isn't working in your hall. You have a light bulb out. When I say light bulb, I mean the main light within your residence hall room or anything like that. They'll happy to help you out.
Awesome, thank you. The last question on the Q&A is about printing services. Included in tuition, you have a $10 per semester printing stipend that you're able to use. There are printers in every single residence hall. A lot of academic buildings are also in the library. You will need to provide your own paper for printing in the residence halls. However, if you print in the library, there will be printer paper in there automatically, so you don't have to worry about it there. I always recommend for students just get a thing of printer paper from Staples. I got one and I think it lasted me all 4 years. I didn't print that much. But you do have $10 automatically on your one card account. And they make it really easy. You just scan your card on the actual printer. It'll come up and it'll automatically take away from that balance. And you can check that online as well if you'd like. During breaks, what do you need to take home from the dorms? Dylan, if you want to touch on what you should bring home.
Yeah, so it really depends on what you need to quote unquote survive for that break. UNC Asheville doesn't close technically. I'll use the word technically, does not close for Thanksgiving break and spring break. Obviously, it is still considered a break, so students are allowed to go home during that time. There are no classes that take place during those days or week. But the residence halls do not close during there. So if you want to stay in your room during those breaks, you are more than welcome to. The two breaks where students are required to go home are winter break and at the end of the year during summer break. And at the end of the year, summer break, you have to take all of your belongings home. It needs to be completely empty, but you will get checked out and make sure all of your belongings are taken out. But for winter break, you can keep things in your room until next semester. We just ask you to take out food when it's in fridges so nothing spoils or rottens. Take your trash out, but also take whatever clothes bedding, any personal items, whether it's gaming consoles, gaming computers, TVs, ESAs. I say that because that has happened before. So please take your ESAs home. So just understand you can take whatever and whatever you need to survive that break is what you need to take home with you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So we are right at 8 o'clock, a little bit after. Thank you so much to all of our panelists, Tara, Dylan, Chantal, Brooks, for jumping in and answering these. It's been great to get to hear from your mouth and a little bit of explanation and elaboration. For all the students that are still on, if you guys have more questions throughout the next coming weeks or as we closer to the start of the fall semester, please don't hesitate to reach out to either me or your admissions counselor. On our admissions page, there is a specific tab for your counselor. You can find out who exactly is representing you, but you can reach out to any of us. We'll be happy to help. And if you have specific housing or dining questions, you're also welcome to reach out to their offices. I would recommend reach out to your admissions counselor first. We'll be able to answer those. And if we can't answer, then we'll send them on to that next level. Thank you guys very much. I really appreciate you guys being attentive and asking questions. And best of luck on the end of your senior year. Thank you guys.